Oh, hey, hey, hey. Hi, guys. Kim Constable here. How you doing? I was literally running here. I had to go and get a cortisone injection in my hip because I have gluteal tendinopathy because of menopause. Isn't it wonderful? Gluteal tendinopathy, just one of the wonderful things about menopause that we have to suffer through. Let me just check that we are live in Facebook. Yes, we are. I also had to go, I had to take all of my eyelash extensions off. So I have these really short little stumpy eyelashes because I'm having a reaction to the eyelash glue. Also a wonderful symptom of perimenopause, and that has caused tinnitus, another symptom of perimenopause. So I'm like, I went to the doctor there and I'd arranged to get this cortisone injection because I had my hip scanned before Christmas. And he said, like, if it doesn't get any better, and I went for chiro and physio, and he said, come back and we'll put an injection in it. So I was just like, inject me because I need something not to be sore. So it was great. So I actually feel better already, which is amazing, even though I am like mourning the loss of my eyelashes, but sure, it's fine. I'll get used to them. Probably too old for eyelashes anyway. It's time to not have eyelashes. So Facebook is not showing me the comments. Facebook never does show me the comments. So I'm just going to go in here to the Facebook group. Just bear with me a little second. And I'm going to pin this to the top. And I am also going to see the comments because they don't like to show me them on Facebook anymore. Welcome, by the way. I just always launch into some story about my life, like whatever disaster I am currently experiencing. I just launch into, to that disaster. Oh, unpinned. Oh, great. It's been pinned to the top. Wonderful. Thank you, whoever did that. That's wonderful. Ingrid's saying hello, and Debbie Janos is saying hello as well. Nice to see you. And someone who, in the Sculpted Menopause, who's part of my team, is saying, you look beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So anyway, welcome to this first live, first of many lives that I'm going to be doing in this group. It's so exciting. I love doing live Q&As. It's literally my favorite thing in the world to do. And I just thought, you know what, this is a brand new group. We have thousands of members in it. Hopefully we're going to have thousands of more members. So I thought, why not do a live every week and answer all of your muscle building, fat burning, menopause questions that I can answer. Now, I am not a certified doctor like the wonderful Dr. Rachel LaMonica, who is a board certified obstetrician and gynecologic surgeon and menopause expert that we have on staff. She can answer all of your medical questions. I can kind of have a stab at the medical questions with a lot of anecdotal evidence, but not a lot of, obviously medical experience. But anything to do with fat burning, metabolism, building muscle, training, sleeping, anything like that, nutrition, macros, calories, I'm your girl. I am your girl. Catherine is saying hello as well on YouTube. Good to see you, Catherine. So here's how we're going to do this today. I expect these calls are going to get very busy. So what I would ask you to do, if you're here today, I'm just going to pull it up in the group here, is to ask all the questions you can ask now, because these calls, as I start to do them and as I do them more and more, are going to get like super busy and they're going to get really clogged with questions. So what I would do is make sure that you get questions in when you can, because it's the best way to get one-to-one questions from me, because I'm not really doing lives or coaching anywhere else at the minute. So you got me for a full hour or however long it takes. Val B is saying hello. Hello, Val B. Ask your questions live, or I also do have questions here, I think, on the announcement that we made, and I'm going to answer those, and then I'm going to answer the questions here that are live as well on this video. So let me just click on it. And said hello to Debbie Janis, but hello, Debbie, so good to see you. So here is how this works. I know many of you are new to the Sculpted Menopause and new to me. So hi, my name is Kim Constable. I am the CEO and founder of the Sculpted Menopause. I am the CEO and founder of the Sculpted Vegan. The umbrella company is now Sculpted. We used to be the Sculpted Vegan, but now we are the Sculpted Menopause as well. And I wanted to create this group because I am literally having a hellish time in perimenopause. And everything that could break is broken. Everything that can hurt hurts. I have had major problems. What happens with my family is we hit perimenopause at around 43. Well, it usually happens before that. For me, I hit perimenopause around the age of 37, went on a slow decline of kind of constant UTIs and started to have, major sleep issues and that kind of stuff. But around the age of 44 is when my family, I have two older sisters and my mum, we literally go hurtling downhill into full perimenopause. And then within 3 years, we are in full menopause. And so my sister, my mum was the same. Her sister was the same. Her mum was the same. My older sister Carol, who's now 40, she'll be 49 this year. She hasn't had a menstrual period in about 2 years. My second sister Carrie, who will be 48 this year, has not had a menstrual period in about a year and a half, 18 months. I am still having regular periods, but I am on the full downward hurtle towards full menopause, which is when you haven't had a menstrual period for 12 months or more. So my family goes through it in a really short time frame. We'll go through it very intensely. And that is kind of what happened to me. Be menopause, what are they all, bitching and whinging about? And then it happened to me. I was severely humbled by it. Definitely severely humbled. And so I have been very, very, very vocal about menopause recently. And actually, we have been running menopause programs. We've been launching menopause programs and selling menopause programs through Sculpted Vegan for many, many years. Since 2021, I think we launched our first menopause program. So we've kind of been leading the forefront, or at the leading edge, or the cutting edge, or leading the charge, or whatever you want to call it, of menopause programs for women for many years. But because of my own experience in menopause, and because this is such a huge, there was a huge gap in the market, which is now everyone is filling. Menopause is becoming like a real, real recently, as it should be. And so, because there was this real gap in the market, what I decided to do was start this Mastering Perimenopause and Menopause group. And I wanted to put perimenopause in the name, so it was Mastering Perimenopause and Menopause, because a lot of women associate menopause with postmenopause. But this perimenopause phase, which is where all the chaos happens, is actually the phase that many people just kind of weren't talking about. And I wanted to make sure that women knew whenever they found this group that it was inclusive for them, that it was women in perimenopause and menopause. And then I really wanted to just build up a group of women who are seeking real advice from qualified nutritionists, doctors, athletes, trainers, of which we have in this group, as well as a whole team of coaches supporting you and answering your questions. So this group is, of course, we will talk a lot about our Sculpted Menopause app, because that is, that is the main program, or the main product that we promote and sell for menopause. It is absolutely phenomenal, but it's not necessary to purchase the app or to purchase anything from us to be a part of this group. You can hang around here. You can get all your questions answered for free. You can get coaching for free. You can get advice for free. This group will not contain people selling stuff. Anyone who ever tries to promote their products or sell stuff, we have a team of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coaches, plus my whole team who works for me. Who are in this group every single day. We look at every post and every comment. So if we see someone trying to sell or promote, they will just be instantly removed from the group, because we want to keep this group a safe space. You will also not see things like women giving advice which is really not accurate. I see all kinds of weird shit, obviously, in the menopause groups. It really is funny what people recommend as treatments for perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So in this group, pride ourselves on real advice that women can use to help get them through menopause and perimenopause. And if we don't know the answer, we will simply say we don't. We're not afraid to say we don't know, because saying what you don't know and being limited, or acknowledging that you are limited in what you know, is where you open up the gap to learn more. So let me just get to some of the questions. If you have questions, please post them live. I'm going to be checking all of the questions here. We're live on Instagram. No, we're not live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube, and we're live on Facebook. So if you have a question, please post it live. we do have some questions on the graphics that we're going to get here. And sometimes once I start answering questions, what you will find is questions will come up for you. So if that happens, post it in the chat. I would love it if you would write question in big capital letters so that I can distinguish kind of just general chat from the questions. And I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. So let's get to some of the questions. So Jessica Gellen is asking a question, a very specific question about a program that's happening at the minute in the Sculpted Menopause app. It's called Buns and Guns. So I'm going to answer this. She said, you mentioned in your onboarding that as long as the calories were 1,500 this week, we're good to go. I know about doing the macros. My sound is cutting in and out. I don't know what to do. Yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. Thank you. I don't know what I can do about the sound. I'm so sorry if the sound is cutting in and out. We had this issue yesterday, and I really don't know what is causing it because I'm actually plugged into the internet. Just make sure everything is well connected. It is. I'm really sorry if the sound is cutting in and out. It happened yesterday as well. I will look at the Ethernet cable and try and figure out what we can do about it. So Jessica says, you mentioned in the onboarding that as long as the calories were 1,500 this week, we're good to go. I know about doing the macros, but I'm just trying to finish up some things in the fridge from Thistle, vegan meal delivery kit that has the calories but not the macros. It costs money to throw it away. I forgot to cancel 8 meals to eat. I think she's asking, is it okay to eat those meals? So here's the thing about macros and calories. There's a theory in bodybuilding called if it fits your macros. It's like IIF, I think is what it is shortened to. And so if it fits your macros, how important are macros? I think that's the question we want to ask. Macros are important because you need to make sure that you're eating adequate protein so that you have the building for building more muscle, building, synthesizing, metabolizing different processes in your body, but also protein keeps you feeling fuller for longer, and protein is also thermogenic. So protein actually requires energy from your body to break down and metabolize the protein. So you actually burn calories just eating the protein. So if someone was to eat 1,500 calories of fat, let's say someone was to eat there's 125 calories in a tablespoon of olive oil. So let's say you just had 15 tablespoons of olive oil, or more than that it would be, but let's say you had 15 tablespoons of olive oil. Could you lose body fat on that if you are within the 1,500 calorie range? Well, yes, 100%. But you might sacrifice muscle in the long term if you're trying to build muscle because you're not getting any protein to help with the synthesis of your muscle building. So although it depends on what your primary goal is, I guess. Whenever some people ask me, should I eat, I'm eating 1,500 calories. Do I have to get the correct macros? And so a macro, for those of you who don't know, macros are your proteins, carbs, and fats. And so what we normally recommend is eat about 40% protein, 30% fat, and 30% carbs. So what that means is if you are eating 1,500 calories, 40% of the 1,500 calories will be protein. So let's multiply 1,500 by 40. It'll be about 600, I think. 600, exactly. So 600 calories that you're eating of the 1,500 will be protein calories. And then the rest of the calories will be evenly split between carbs and fats. So is it super important that you hit your macros? No, it's not super important that you hit your macros exactly, that you hit exactly 600 calories from protein and what's left over 900 calories, that would be 450 calories from fat and 450 calories from carbs. It's not important that you hit those exactly, but you wouldn't want to be sacrificing protein in the long term. So let's say that your vegan meals from Thistle are not protein rich, which usually many vegan meals from meal delivery services are not protein rich. So let's assume that they're not protein rich. Is that okay for you? Said you have about 8 meals to eat. I don't know whether that means 8 days or whether that means 8 meals and you're eating 3 meals a day. So that would be, say, 2.5 days. If you have 2.5 days of those meals to eat and you can manage the macros so that they get within the 1,500 calories, then that's totally fine. 2.5 days isn't going to harm you. But if you were planning on using a meal delivery service for the full 8 weeks of the Buns and Guns challenge, and that full 8 weeks was really sacrificing protein and you weren't hitting your protein goals, then I'm afraid I would advise that you relook at that and make sure that you are actually hitting your protein, which is very easy to do as a vegan. As you know, Jessica, you've been in my programs for a long time. So the short answer is yes, it's totally okay if you finish those up, because I certainly wouldn't want you to be out the money, because obviously, groceries are expensive at the minute, and we want to make sure that you're not wasting food and wasting money. But in the long term, it is important to get your macros as much as you possibly can. Okay. Oh, that was actually the only question on the live. Well, let me just check. Most relevant is up. So let me just check all comments and make sure there isn't something that I have missed. Oh no, it's a question I've already answered. So guys, do you have any questions? I can see Mia has a question here live. So Mia says, could it be harder to build muscle without HRT when you are 57 years of age? You know what, Mia? I don't know the medical answer to this, so I'm going to give you my opinion on it, okay? So whenever you take HRT, you are taking a blend of estrogen and progesterone. Neither of those are anabolic. So estrogen isn't anabolic and progesterone isn't anabolic. Testosterone is anabolic. So what anabolic means is that it's growth. Anabolism is to do with growth, and cannibalism is to do with breaking down, or catabolic. So anabolic steroids are, obviously steroids that you would take to help your body to build muscle faster. There's no anabolic nature to estrogen or progesterone. So those hormones, in my opinion, again, I haven't researched this, so there may be something that I'm missing or something that I don't know. But I don't know that taking HRT alone is going to help you to build more muscle. However, what I have found is, from a woman who started HRT, is that I started HRT because I was suffering from so many symptoms, because I was suffering from so many issues. Like, I was having constant headaches, I was tired all the time, I was having night sweats, I wasn't sleeping, my feet were really sore all the time, my joints on my feet hurt. So I was suffering from all of these different symptoms, and I just didn't feel like training in the gym. And when I train in the gym, I train pretty damn hard, and I really just did not feel like training. And so of course, I still trained, and I made myself go, and I made myself do the work, but it was a lot harder. And so that's the thing that I think would affect your ability to build muscle more than anything. Is it's harder to motivate yourself to train whenever you don't have the sleep and you don't have the energy, and your body hurts. Because in order to build muscle, as you know, Mia, you have to stimulate the muscle beyond what it's currently capable of doing. You have to go to what's called positive muscle failure. So if you are capable of squatting 40 kilos, or let's say 60 pounds, and you squat 60 pounds for 10 reps, even if you do it 2 or 3 times, your body won't give you any extra muscle, because you only squatted what you were capable of squatting. It's only when you add more load, or you decrease the rest, or you add more reps, and you force your body to do more than it's currently capable of doing, and you go to what's called positive muscle failure or beyond. And so how you can go beyond failure is if you have a spotter. So because a lot of times positive muscle failure comes from, like, let's say someone was bench pressing, right? And you're doing this, and you're bench pressing 2, 3. Let's say you get to your 6th rep, right? And you get to here in your 6th rep, and you get to here, and you have a little sticking point. If somebody just puts their fingers under that bar and gives you a little lift with that bar, quite often you can push that bar on up, even if they take their fingers off. Once you get to the sticking point, you can keep going. So once you reach here and you stop, you haven't failed. That isn't positive muscle failure, because you actually still had more juice in the tank, because once they give you a little lift, you were able to push on through that, and then you were able to lower with control. So let's say then you push up and the next rep you only get to here, but they give you a little lift, and you get through that, and then you push to the top yourself, and then you lower with control, your chest is still working. So going positive muscle failure is really when you get to the point where you know that you wouldn't even be able to lower with control in your next rep. So what that looks like when my husband is spotting me or my trainer is spotting me is they when I get to the sticking point, they give me the little lift through it with 2 fingers, and I push all the way to the top, and then I lower with control. Then the next one, maybe instead of 2 fingers, maybe he needs to give me a little 3-inch lift, and I push it to the top, and then I go down with control, and then maybe on the, that would be the, say, the 6th, 7th, so maybe on the 8th rep, maybe he needs to give me a little more of a lift, a little further, and then I push it up, and then I lower with control. Maybe on the 9th, now he's giving me a little bit of a lift all the way to the top, but I still lower it myself with control. And then maybe on the 10th, I'm like pushing, 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 pushing. My arms are shaking, and I'm pushing, pushing, pushing all the way to the top. And I know that if I had to go back down again, like the bar would drop. That's positive muscle failure. I've reached a point where I can neither push it up myself nor lower it myself, so my muscle has failed. If you go to that level of failure, your muscles will grow really, really, really fast. But still not as fast as you would like, right? They will not even, they won't grow. It won't grow fast. Your muscles will positively grow. So then the question I get from people is, well, how do I do that if I don't have a spotter? Well, how you do that is you put your final, your heaviest weight on the bar for your final set. And this is if you're training in a gym, obviously. So let's say you put, like for me, for example, today on my flat bench, I had 65 kilo, 70 kilos on. So I had a 15 and a 10. What did I have on? A 15 and a 10, I think I had on. So what's that? 25 each side, and the bar weighs 20. So I had 50 kilos on the bar, and I had, and then the bar weight, which is 20. So I think, I had a spotter today, but how I would do that is I would do however many reps I could with 70 kilos. So let's say 3 reps. And then I would rack the bar, and I would jump up, and I would throw off the 2 pens, and I would lie back down, and then I would probably do another 5 to 6 reps, as many reps as I could until I failed again with the 15 kilo plates. Then I would get up, throw off the 15s and put on the 5s. And then I would go again until I, literally was like, my chest is burning. I can't do any more. And then I would rack the bar. That's how you go to positive muscle failure by yourself whenever you don't have a spotter. You keep dropping the weight off and doing as many reps as you can at that dropped weight until you reach failure, and then you drop it off, go to a lower weight, and then you go again until you reach failure. If you are training, whether you're training at home with dumbbells or you're training at a home gym or in a gym, if you always go to positive muscle failure on your big compound exercises or wherever you can, your muscle will grow faster. Even if you're doing a tricep press down, even if you're doing some kind of cable exercise, if you drop the weight and go again and drop the weight and go again until you reach failure at each new weight, your muscles will grow. They cannot help but grow because you're asking them to do more and more and more and more every single time. So your body is recruiting as many muscle fibers as it possibly can until all the muscle fibers are recruited, and boom, your muscle has timed out. Like it has maxed out. It can't do anymore. You are done. And so that's positive muscle failure, and that's where muscle grows. So if you're doing that, and you don't have to take HRT. I would recommend it though, because HRT is extremely important for protecting your body later in life, unless there's a medical reason why you can't take it. Even women who've had breast cancer can take a form of HRT called SERM, SERM usually. But I'm not an HRT expert by any means. But if you can take HRT, I would, because it's protective benefits later in life. I don't think it'll help you to build more muscle though, but I do think that it will make you feel better, which makes you stronger in the gym. And so if you practice the principle of positive muscle failure, even if you're training at home with light dumbbells, if you literally go until you can go no more, and then you take a little pause, and then you go again for a few more, and you take a little pause, and you go again for a few more, your muscles will grow, and your muscles will grow fast. Well, not as fast as you would like, but they will grow as fast as they can possibly grow. The reason why many women go to the gym year upon year and don't see any change in their body is because they're not actually going to positive muscle failure. They're not going beyond what they're currently capable of doing. In fact, most women aren't even working to the level that they're currently capable of working to. And that's not a judgment, by the way. Like my mum is nearly 70 years of age. She started training in the gym with my trainer, Mark. Um, she goes 4 times a week. She started 8 months ago. And I would say only now, after 8 months, is my mum actually lifting what she's capable of lifting. And I actually believe she's probably capable of lifting more, but because of her age, and she is very fit though, Mark is allowing her to gently move up through the weights because obviously he doesn't want to cause an injury or whatever. So, but a lot of women, whenever they start in the gym, they don't lift anywhere near what they're capable of lifting. And that's because they're scared to. And so they go to the gym and they're like, oh, I went to the gym today and I worked really hard. And so they go to the gym for maybe 6 months and then they come to me and they say, I don't really see any difference in my body. And I say, well, that's because you've only just now started lifting what you're capable of lifting. And so your body won't give you participation muscle. You were probably strong enough to lift 50 pounds 6 months ago, but you couldn't do it because you were just learning the exercise. You were learning the pattern of movement. You were learning the gym. You were, like all of these things. And so you couldn't do it because, everything was new to you and you had to build up to this, to be able to do it. But physically, you probably were strong enough to lift 50 pounds 6 months ago. And so now you're actually lifting what your body is capable of lifting. So now you're going to start to build muscle. So a lot of people don't, um, see very many muscle gains in the first 6 months, not because they're not working hard. They think they're working hard. And because they think they're working hard, or they feel like they're working hard, they feel like they should see more results in their body. But they don't because they weren't lifting what their muscles were capable of lifting. Remember, your muscles will not give you participation muscle. They will not reward you simply for showing up. They will only respond when you push them to do more than they're currently capable of doing. So that's why a lot of women don't see results early on in the gym. They only see results once they start pushing past what they're currently capable of doing. But that does take time. It takes time to get there. It takes, time and confidence. You have to build that confidence as you go. And that's the fastest way to build muscle. But I don't honestly think that HRT is going to help that specifically. If anyone knows any data that would contradict what I'm saying, I would be more than happy to hear it. But there's definitely no anabolic properties to progesterone or estrogen, which are the two things that are in HRT, usually for women with uterus. And but if you start taking testosterone, again, even if you take testosterone, you're not going to suddenly look like Arnold Schwarzenegger because the amounts of testosterone that women take in menopause is so tiny, it doesn't really have a lot of anabolic properties. But that would be the only hormone I would say that if you supplemented with it, would help you to build more muscle. The fastest way to build more muscle is simply to get as much sleep as you possibly can. Hard, I know, in menopause. To eat really good food because food is nature's natural anabolic. Food is nature's natural anabolic. If you increase your intensity in the gym and train really hard, and then you increase your food to match your intensity, your muscles will grow. They just won't grow as fast as you want them to grow. And that's always the way it is. Okay. What else have we got going on? Love that question. By the way, Mia, that was a great question. Ingrid Marion, a beautiful Ingrid, is asking, do I increase my load from 5 kilos to 10 kilos in steps of 1 kilo, as in like go 5 kilos, 6 kilos, 7, 8, 10, and from there in steps of 2.5, like 12 and a half, 15, 7.5, 17.5. Ingrid, no, there's no system for increasing weight. Here's my rule of thumb for increasing weight in the gym. Increase it as much as you possibly can to perform the exercise with good form. And once you reach your plateau, then you can start adding little tiny increments. So let me give you some examples. On a bicep curl, like my dumbbells in the gym go up they go, 2.5 kilos, 5, 7.5, 10. um, 12 and a half, 15. Now, Mark has dumbbells that actually go, I think, in smaller increments. Actually, that's not true. We also have dumbbells that go, we have 5, 6, 7, 9 kilo dumbbells. I don't know why we have this random set of dumbbells as well, but I never use those. I usually go up in 2.5 increments. And here's your general rule of thumb. If you're doing bicep curls, right, with 10 kilos, which are 22 pounds for our American friends, so if you're doing bicep curls with 10 kilo dumbbells in each hand and you get to 10 reps fairly easily, then I would try and do another 5. So you always want to go to failure. If you're regularly getting 12 to 15 reps with 10 kilo dumbbells, then you are more than capable of doing 6 to 8 reps with 12.5 kilo dumbbells. And that's kind of how you gauge it. If you can get to 10 kilos, if you can get to 10 reps at a certain kilo range, you can usually get less reps with a heavier dumbbell. Because don't forget, you're not always aiming for, say, 10 to 12 reps. What you're aiming for is to go to failure. And so what I would do, and this is what I do and say with, with bicep curls, for example, I will do 17.5 kilos is my top set now on bicep. And it's taken me 9 years to get there, by the way. So I can only do about 8 reps of 17.5 kilos with good form. Now, in a bicep curl, whenever you are getting to your final set with your dumbbells, it's actually okay to throw them up and lower them with control, because a lot of people don't know that in a bicep curl, it's actually not the lifting up portion that causes the bicep to grow. It's actually the lowering portion. It's the negative portion of the rep that actually puts the most strain on the bicep. So in a bicep curl, as long as you are lowering with control, you're actually working your muscle more than if you are raising with control. And many people don't know that. So in my final set of bicep curls, I do about 6 to 8 reps, 17.5 kilos with good form, right? And I mean good tight form. And then I get to the 7th rep and I'm like, oh, and I kind of throw them up and lower with control. And then the 8th, and I throw it up and I lower with control. And if I can do 9 and 10, I do. And I set them down and then I pick up the 12.5s. So I go, because I know the 15s would still be super heavy. So I pick up the 12.5s and I do maybe another 5, 6 reps with 12.5s, and then I set them down, and then I pick up the 7.5s or sometimes the 10s. And I'll try like the 10s. I'm like, oh my God, I'm only getting 2 reps and the burnt out. So I pick up the 7.5s and I just push out another couple of reps with 7.5. And I drop the weight in order to build the biceps. Problem is my biceps are actually getting quite big now. They're not pumped at the minute, but they are getting quite big. And so it's hard to fit into jackets. They used to be bigger, and then I let the size go a bit, but now they're bigger again. And so you don't need to go up in 1 kilos. It's like the only way you would go up in 1 kilo sets or 1 kilo weights would be if that was the only way you could increase, because it is still an increase. So let's say you were maxed out on, a squat at 50 kilos, and you didn't feel that you could do another 5 kilos. I would, on a squat, usually try and go up 5 or 10 kilos. Like I think 5, if I'm a top set, I'll go up 5 kilos. So if you are maxed out at 50 kilos in squat, you would put a 2.5 on each side, and you would try and then do 6 reps at the new weight, which would be 55 kilos. If you didn't feel you could do 55 kilos, even doing 52.5 kilos is going to help you to grow muscle, because you're doing more than you were capable of doing before. However, if you're capable of doing 55 kilos for, say, 6 to 8 reps and you don't, you're leaving muscle gains on the table. So the answer is always be aiming to add something more to your workouts. In the beginning, you will add weight almost every single week, and you will feel like you are the strongest person in the world. You'll be like, I am progressing so fast. I'm like adding weight every single week. And then what will happen is, after a period of time, your weights will plateau. So you will not be able to add any more weight. You'll like be bench pressing and you're like, oh, like I've been doing, say, 40 kilos in a bench press for like 6 months now, and I just can't add any more. That's because you've maxed out at the top of your weight. That's when you start pushing for 1 extra rep, or you add 1 1.25 kilo plates on either side. So now you're doing 42 and a half. So you aim to add a little bit more, or you decrease your rest time between sets. As long as you're adding more in some way, you're building more muscle. But there's no arbitrary rule for how much you should go up in kilos. My general rule of thumb on legs would be on your very top set, you should be kind of aiming to add 5 to 10 kilos. It depends on the machine. Whenever I'm going up in weight I'm at the very max weight on an incline hack squat now. I do consistently, I sometimes do 260 kilos, but I consistently do 240 kilos. So I do 240 kilos, but my next weight will be a 10 kilo plate each side. So I'm adding 20 kilos actually to my top set on legs, but that's because I'm an advanced trainer. Early on in my journey, I might have only added 5 kilo plates to my top set. And that's just to get a little bit more weight on. So with legs, it depends on the machine. You kind of want to be going minimum 5 kilos on legs. Arms, 2.5 kilos is probably fine. I can't think of any instance where you would add 1 kilo unless you could add, say, 1 or 2 kilos to like a cable machine, like a small muscle group like triceps or a bicep curl or, a rear delt fly. Those are very humbling. So, that's where you can be adding little tiny increments. But again, it's really just about asking yourself, how can I add a little bit more? You just want to be adding a little bit more, but you always want to be adding the most that you possibly can to at least get about 6 reps. Or if you're doing drop sets, 4 reps is fine. Even 2 reps. If you're training by yourself, you don't have a spotter, and you think I can get 2 reps at 70 kilos, then do those 2 reps at 70 kilos and then quickly drop some weight off and do another 5 or 6 at lower weight. Drop some weight off, do another 3 or 4. That's the fastest way to build muscle. Okay. Sandra Damiani is saying, not sure if we can ask a buns or guns question. Probably you can. But my 7th week of the program, I will be on vacation. I have really been looking forward to this vacation for a solid year. I would be too. Would it be horrible if I eat off plan for that week? I know this will ruin any chances of doing well in the competition, but I am in it for the learning and overall healthy lifestyle, not just for the competition, though I have a significant amount of weight to lose. Sandra, you have my full permission to enjoy your vacation, as long as when you come back, you get straight back on plan. So what I find with things like vacations is you need to have a plan of what you're going to do, because otherwise you will just drive yourself bananas. So this is what used to happen with me. I used to go on vacation, and I would say to myself, I'm gonna bring my gym stuff just in case I feel like training. And there was a couple of different ways. Whenever I go on vacation, I either plan to train, plan to kind of see how I feel, or plan not to train. It really just depends on how I feel before I go. So whenever I was training for bodybuilding shows, I never would have taken any training. So I always brought my gym clothes with me. My husband and I got up in the morning, we went to the gym and we trained. And it was a non-negotiable. We had breakfast, we trained, we showered. We usually walked, actually, had breakfast, trained, showered, and then we hit the beach at about midday. So we got all of our exercise out of the way in the morning. We kind of felt justified in, relaxing and eating and drinking the rest of the day. And then other vacations, I would have gone on. As I stopped competing, and I became busier in the company, growing this big bloody company that I have now that requires an enormous amount of effort. It got to the point where we would go on vacation, and my husband does not run a big company anymore. And so he would say, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And I'd be like, "I really can't be arsed to go for an hour-long power walk." Right? Because it's not like a meander to look at things. Like we're doing cardio. And he'd be like, come on, let's go do a walk. And I would get myself out of bed under sufferance and go and do it because I felt like I should, because good people do cardio, right? On holiday. And so I would go and do it. And then I'd be like, come on, go to the gym. And I would drag myself to the gym. And I found that I really just wasn't enjoying it. And then one day I was on vacation in a beautiful hotel. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? Why not just come away on vacation and have a break? Because I really find then that going on vacation was almost like, it was just more of the same of what I was doing at home. I just had taken my life and moved it to a warmer country. And so I thought, no, I am going to give myself permission when I'm on vacation to do nothing. I'm not going to walk unless I feel like it. I'm not going to do any cardio. I'm not going to train in the gym unless I feel like it. I'm not doing anything. So I would take a couple of changes of gym clothes with me, a pair of, walking shoes or training shoes. And I would quite often take my grips, my, gloves or whatever. And then I would get there and I would see how I feel. But I would go with the view of I'm not training. And my husband would go to the gym and he would go and walk and he would do his things, because he's, practically retired. And so he doesn't have any life that he needs to take a vacation from. His whole life is a vacation. And so he will still go and I would just be like, no, I'm lying in bed. No, I'm not getting up. No, I'm completely switching off and relaxing. And that was completely fine. But some mornings I'd be like, okay, I feel energetic. I like training chest and triceps. So I would go and I would train with them. And so I find that making the decision in advance really helped because whenever, years ago, whenever I was in my, must stay lean all the time, must build muscle all the time phase, and where I was competing and stuff, I would go away to these beautiful hotels and I wouldn't allow myself to enjoy the gorgeous food that was on offer. I would restrict myself. I would, eat, like just lean breakfast options. And I would have some fresh fruit, and I would have some avocado and that kind of stuff, but I just wouldn't allow myself to have the beautiful breads or pastries or whatever was there. I'm not a big pastry person, but the beautiful breads and things. I always had the gorgeous olive oils and everything. And I just wouldn't allow myself to enjoy it because I'd be like, no, I have to, stay on plan. And then I was like, what am I doing all this for? Like, I am missing out on life. I'm missing out on these experiences. I'm missing out on, this really good food. And so what I would say to you, Sandra, is if you've looked forward to this vacation for a year, then you should go and enjoy the bloody vacation because you can go to the gym, do cardio, diet, eat on plan for the rest of your life. But this vacation that you're going on is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So what I would advise you to do is make the decision before you go. When you go, either make the decision that you are going to stay on plan, which I don't recommend, or you're going to go and you're going to enjoy your vacation because you only get one shot at life. You get one shot at life. Life is too short. And I genuinely believe life is far too short to diet on vacation. Unless you're, I once went away, but I was prepping for a bodybuilding show, and I once went away on vacation during prep, and I just needed to get away from from the monotony of like cardio and eating and training and working. And so we went on vacation with the kids and I got my steps in every day. I trained in the gym every day. It was very hard to manage the food. So I just kind of under ate for a week. And I brought loads of my own seitan. I brought loads of protein powder and supplements. Like I really planned. I just moved my bodybuilding life over to Marbella, and it worked. But I wouldn't recommend it. So I would say if you're going on vacation, go on vacation. Right? Just go on vacation and enjoy yourself because genuinely, like what harm is it going to do in the long run? You can get right back on plan whenever you come back. But one thing you cannot do is repeat that vacation. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity for you to go and enjoy yourself. You can diet and train every single day of your life because that's easy to do at home. But you cannot vacation at home in this beautiful vacation that you planned and you're going on. So I say if you need permission to go on that vacation and enjoy it, you go on that vacation and enjoy it. That's what I would say that you do. Celeste Pinkham, is DOMS a good indication to rely on that I hit muscle failure the day before? Well, yes, DOMS is an indication of that you have taken the muscle to failure through mechanical stress. So you also get DOMS from metabolic stress, but DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness for those who don't know. And what happens is whenever you tear the muscle apart, the muscle will become inflamed as the body tries to build it back. So it's very similar to if you slice your hand open, right? If you slice your hand open, it's going to be sore, right? Or if you burn your hand, it's going to be sore for a few days and it's going to become red and inflamed because the inflammation is your body repairing that burn. Same as in your muscles. So if your muscles have been damaged, then they will become inflamed while your body repairs the damage. And so that is a good indication that yes, you have worked hard. However, what happens as you become a more advanced trainer is you don't actually suffer from delayed onset muscle soreness anymore, not to the same extent. So whenever I train, I will get up in the morning. I actually trained twice today. I trained chest and triceps this morning, and then I had like an hour to have breakfast and shower, and then I went to the gym and I trained legs because I missed chest and triceps yesterday. And so I had a pretty hard chest and triceps workout this morning, and I trained at home, so I was using slightly different machines. And I know I'm going to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, like, yeah, I just like, I can feel it, there's a tightness there, tightness in my triceps. But I'm not going to be like, oh man, can't move my arms. And that's because the, you don't tear the muscle fibers to the same extent whenever you are training consistently. But whenever you've taken, say, a break from training, or you use a different machine, which has a slightly different angle, which hits the muscle in a slightly different way, then you will tear more muscle fibers, have more muscle inflammation, and then you will have more DOMS. So let's say you're used to doing an incline press on a Smith machine, and you go to the gym and you train on an incline press where you're sitting, you're not lying down, you're sitting upright, and you're pushing your arms in. Well, that's going to work the muscle at a slightly different angle. So you're probably going to have DOMS from doing that slightly different angle, even if you've been training every single week on doing an incline press on the Smith machine. And so you've just hit the muscle slightly differently, activated different muscle fibers, and created DOMS. So DOMS is a good indication that you have definitely hit the muscle fibers. But what a lot of women ask questions about is they say, I don't really suffer from DOMS anymore. I don't really get sore muscles after training anymore. Does this mean that my muscles aren't growing? No, it just means that your muscles have adapted to stimulus. But if you took a break from training for, say, 2 weeks, your muscle fibers would completely repair, they would fit together, and then you would go to the gym and you would rip them apart, and then you would have massive amounts of inflammation and then soreness. I never want to miss leg day. If I ever miss leg day for 1 week and then I go back the next week, my muscles are so sore, so sore. Just missing 1 week causes so much DOMS again. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have worked any harder. It can mean that you have worked harder. It can also mean that you have just activated muscle fibers. Excuse me. It can also mean that you just activated muscle fibers that you have activated before. Or it can just mean that you work the muscle in a different way. Like, yes, I have very, very, very strong legs, very strong glutes, very strong legs. I rode my horses in the weekend. I haven't been riding consistently since last September, and I've started to get back into riding again. I have 5 competition horses for those who don't know. My daughter also rides. And so I rode 2 of my horses on the weekend, and we went show jumping, schooling. And my glute medius was sore the next day, and my inner thighs, my adductors were so sore the next day from squeezing the horse, from using those muscles and using the glute med muscles. And you would think that like my legs are so strong, but those particular muscles are not activated whenever I'm training in the gym in the same way that they are through riding. And so they were sore the next day. And I was like walking a bit like Tommy. So does that mean that those muscles will grow necessarily? Not really, because I wasn't adding any load to them. I just activated them. I created metabolic stress on them. They had a buildup of lactic acid, which caused a bit of muscle damage through lactic acid, through trauma to the metabolites, through shaking of metabolites inside the muscle tissue, which causes slight trauma, which causes delayed onset muscle soreness. But that doesn't mean that my muscles will grow, right? My glute med, like have you ever seen a really muscly horse rider? No, they're all usually quite lean and sinewy because they're like runners. They're like marathon runners. You become very strong, but your muscles don't grow. They get strengthened, the muscle fibers knit and become very tight. They would have DOMS after riding, but that doesn't necessarily mean the muscles will grow. It means DOMS means the muscles have been activated, damaged, there's inflammation, but the only way you cause the muscle to grow is if you keep asking the body to do more and more and more and more and more than it's currently capable of doing, and your body builds scar tissue on top of the muscles, which is what actually makes them grow. But if you do a very repetitive movement again and again and again, and you never add load, you never add reps, you never add any or take away any extra rest time, you don't keep adding more to the muscle, you'll develop strong muscles with strong, muscle fibers, but you won't necessarily grow bigger muscles, because if repetitive use grew bigger muscles, then marathon runners would have enormous legs. but they don't. They have tiny little legs, strong legs, but tiny little legs, usually. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully that helps. Amelia Dory is asking, do you recommend a 5-day program for buns and guns specifically, or a follow at home for me, or 3? What gives better results? So here's the thing, Amelia, you'll always get better results from doing more. So if you, and well, let me caveat that. If your goal is to build muscle, you and burn fat, you would be better doing a 5-day gym program. So 5-day gym program will always give better results than a 5-day home program in terms of building more muscle. Not necessarily in fat loss, but building more muscle. A 5-day gym program will give far better results than a 3-day home program. Like, it makes sense if you think about it. The only way that doing more doesn't actually apply is if you did 5 leg days. That would not be good because muscles don't grow in the gym, muscles grow when you're resting. So if you don't give your muscles adequate time to recover, then they won't grow adequately. So you have to give your muscles time to recover. So doing 5 leg days, and I mean we're targeting the same muscle groups, it would be if you could do 5 leg days, if you did quads one day, hamstrings another day, glutes another day, calf muscles another day. Like, you could work, and then working another angle of glutes on the 5th day. That's the way that you could do 5 leg days a week. But you would have to just work single muscle groups. Otherwise, you would be working counterintuitively. So more is only better whenever you're working the different muscle groups that you would be if you were training 5 days in the gym. So doing more is always going to get you better results. If your goal is to shred fat and build muscle, doing more is always going to give you better results. But if you do 3 days, it's going to be adequate to help you to build muscle and burn fat and feel better. But is it going to give you the same results as, say, 5 days in the gym? No, it's just not, right? And some women get really, like, they get annoyed. They go, oh, well, that's not fair. Like, I can only work out 3 days. So I thought doing, why would you put that option in there if it's not going to give me the same results? I'm like, well, because some people can't go to the gym for 5 days. But there are women who want, superior results, and they will do more. And even if it's not in the program, they will find a way to do more themselves anyway. So we want to cater to everybody. But what we will say is, if you do more, you will get better and faster results. Okay, I just need to blow my nose. I apologize. And I'm a very loud nose blower. It runs in the family. In my family, we all blow our nose so loudly. And I think it's my parents who blow their nose really loudly. Just blame the parents. Okay, so let me see. Are there any more questions? I don't believe there are. Oh, yes, there are. Okay, so Sharon is asking, in the nutrition guide, you state that weeks 1 to 3 should be 150 grams of protein, but in the set meals, week 1 adds up to 161. Week 2 to 181, and week 3 is 151. So how closely should we stick to 150 when week 2 is well over that? I'm doing my own food, so I want to make sure I'm using the right macros. So Sharon, what we recommend, great question, by the way, what we recommend is that you eat a minimum of 150 grams where possible. So that's just the kind of the guideline recommendation. It's not a specific 150 grams, it's a minimum of 150 grams. And the reason why the macros vary slightly in week 1, week 2, and week 3 is because I wanted to use the recipe book to create the meal plans to make it super easy for you. We already had all of the recipes preloaded into the app. We already had them all created. And so I just went through and created all of the meal plans from the recipes that were already there. So, and what I did was make sure that the meal plans didn't go, I mean, some of them may go slightly under 150, but 150 is just a guideline. It's kind of like saying, in order to keep your teeth really healthy, you should brush your teeth twice a day. But some people don't brush their teeth twice a day. Some people only brush their teeth once a day in the evening. Sometimes I forget to brush my teeth in the morning, right? So and most times I do brush my teeth in the morning, but if you only brush your teeth, if you brush your teeth twice a day, great. Really, you should brush your teeth twice a day on floss, right? But if you don't brush your teeth twice a day and floss every single day, is anything bad going to happen? No, probably not. Or that would be the ultimate. So it's the same as eating protein. You want to eat 30 grams of protein 5 times a day. And for those of you watching, this isn't just in buns and guns or a shred program. Menopausal women, women in perimenopause and menopause should be aiming to eat 30 grams of protein 5 times a day. And that, so 30 grams in the morning, 30 grams in your snack mid-morning, 30 grams in your lunch, 30 grams in your dinner, and 30 grams before bed. And that is what will keep your metabolism roaring along. It is what will protect your muscle tissue from sarcopenia. It's what will help you build more muscle tissue, and it's what will keep your body metabolically active. So that's why, so that's why the meal plans vary. They don't go below 150 grams. Usually, that is what we recommend, 150 grams. Okay, guys, that has taken us very nicely up to 5 minutes until 5 o'clock. I apologize if the sound was bad. I think there must be something going on with the Wi-Fi in the office building here. They are doing a lot of work next door, so it could potentially be something to do with that. I will check the Ethernet cable and get everything checked before the next live just to make sure the sound is good. I apologize if it was bad. And I'm going to be here next week, as far as I know. Let me just check my diary. Just want to make sure. Yes, I'm going to be here next week, same time, 4 p.m. So we're going to aim every week as much as possible to have Q&A Tuesday happening at 4 p.m. UK time. So whatever time this is for you in the world. And I apologize if you're watching the replay and you can't get there in advance. But don't forget, we are going to there'll be a graphic pinned every single week in the group for Q&A Tuesday for you to ask your questions underneath that graphic, and that's where I'm going to take the first questions from. So if you have a question that you want to ask, you're not going to be able to make it live, but you want to watch the replay, ask the question under the graphic. I will get the question there, and we're going to kind of have a regular Q&A Tuesday every single week. We're going to have some guests, we're going to have some coaches. It's mostly going to be me, but we're going to have guests and coaches. And for those of you who are in the Sculpted Menopause app group, which, by the way, is free for everybody to join. So if you want to be part of another community, look up the Sculpted Vegan app group, the Sculpted Menopause app group. You don't have to be a member of the app to be in the group. It's free for everybody. So Laura, my director of training in the company, she's live in there at 4 p.m. on a Monday, so you can join that. And I think that we're going to have Dr. Rachel LaMonica, who's our board-certified gynecologic surgeon and menopause specialist. She's also going to be doing lives in that group and also in this group as well. So we've got loads of really good stuff coming your way. But hopefully you've enjoyed this today. Thank you so much for your questions. We really appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you next week for another Q&A Tuesday. Make sure you get your questions ready for me to answer, because it's my favorite thing in the world to do, to answer questions. But thank you to everybody who was here live on YouTube, everybody who was here live on Facebook. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you all next week for another Q&A Tuesday. Okay. Sending a big kiss from me to you, and I will see you all next week.